We bought a Firetruck built in 1965 to turn into the ultimate toy hauler. We started by removing all the weight that we didn't need, including this massive 6-cylinder engine. And then we bought a school bus for its 12-valve Cummins and its heavy-duty transmission. The school bus is going to be the perfect place to camp out while we work on developing this awesome mountaintop property. And then finally get a good engine in this Firetruck so that we can build the ultimate toy hauler.
Well, that looks a little more like an engine, and less like a giant pile of oil, grease, and 30 years of grime. Nice. Hopefully, this is the last time we ever have to drag the Firetruck around. It's Cummins time. The time is coming for this thing to get a new engine.
Does this thing still have brakes?
Ah, yeah, the brakes are completely locked up.
Wow.
At least on this side. That's actually probably not a bad thing. 'Cause it means I can just drag it down the hill. It's also funny because the skid steer is literally at idle, and I can't even tell there's resistance pulling that thing. It doesn't even lug it down.
Oh, she's rolling. I got on the brake, but...
What's that?
I'm on the brake right now.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah, well, maybe just stay in there for the remainder.
Cool.
Could just back the Firetruck in here underneath it, but the engine's kind of pointed the wrong way for that.
Ratchets. Maybe it's fine, but we got a lot of weight right pivoting on that ratchet.
Okay. Yeah, we need to flop that. Also, we need to tighten this one. At long last, we're putting this Cummins engine into this 1965 Firetruck, and it's gonna be roadworthy once again. We got ourselves a 12-valve Cummins diesel with an Allison transmission, because I want this thing to be nice and easy to drive, so we're going with an automatic. Yeah, it should be pretty easy to get the engine in there and mounted. It's not very complex as such. And that's another reason we went with this engine. Very, very simple. It needs essentially no electronics to run. We still have this bit of Firetruck on the back of here, and I was thinking about building a flatbed in on top of and around this, but I've since changed my mind. I just think it's not really worth trying to reuse this because it's just all the wrong shapes for what we're trying to do here. I mean, maybe I'll decide to put it back on later. I doubt it. But in the meantime, I'm going to take it off because then we can put the Firetruck in the shop backward, and it'll fit in the space where the lift is, and then we can have the engine on the lift in the correct orientation. Once I remove that box off the back, should be about right.
Perfect time of year for this. Not too hot yet.
Exactly. The window of being comfortable working outside here is very short.
Yeah, it's like 10 minutes a year.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, this whole front section, all the way to back there, just 2 bolts. Just 2 1/2-inch bolts, that's it. That's all that was holding this front half on. As far as I can tell, those 4 bolts there need to come off. And then there should be just 2 more up here. Oh, boo. Who designed that? If you're overwhelmed by credit card bills, personal loans, or medical debt, and can't stay on top of your debts, you might want to consider giving PDS Debt a try and discover why people each month trust PDS to save them time and money. With their technology, they go beyond the numbers to understand your unique financial situation. The best part, there's no minimum credit score required. Whether your credit is bad or fair, they're here to help you save more and pay off your debts faster. If you want to give PDS a try, go to pdsdebt.com/grindhardplumbingco for your free debt assessment and see what options are available to you. And anyone with enough eligible debt qualifies. Get started with your free debt analysis in just 30 seconds at pdsdebt.com/grindhardplumbingco. That's pdsdebt.com/grindhardplumbingco. Now, time to put an engine in this fire truck.
I've been so used to seeing all of the Firetruck right here.
I know. Not just this bit of it. Well, that could have been smoother and more graceful, but it worked.
I still have all 9 of my toes.
All 9, huh? Man, this thing looks really cool with the back locked off, actually.
Yeah, it kind of like, I don't know, to me it seems rat roddy the way the tires are. And,
Yeah, yeah.
Which I'm still looking for an excuse to film you build a rat rod.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I've always liked him. It's also, I'm actually not, everything I build has like a little hint of rat roddiness in it, but I'm actually not that good at it. It involves a little too much
Chaos?
Yeah, I was gonna say like improvisation, like artistically, and like I don't know, that maybe sounds weird because everything I build I try to make it artistic, but it's like following a set of rules, you know. And rat rods are just kind of like more free form, improvised stuff, which I'm not as good at. But anyway. There's some extremely durable crustaceans in this frame rail here.
Whoa.
It's clean enough for now. We'll get it in there under the engine, and then we can, have a better idea of where things are going to go. Once I figure out where I'm going to put the engine exactly, then I can start planning where other stuff is going to go, like the radiator, because I do not plan on keeping that ginormous old radiator. Obviously, it would be more than adequate for cooling this engine, but it would be irreplaceable if it failed, because I don't think you could find that on the shelf at the auto parts store. I just can't see anything behind it. I need you to kind of...
Oh, okay, I'll get on this side.
Yeah. Yeah, I just need you to let me know if I'm going to hit anything.
Okay. Looking pretty good still. Maybe hold there for a second. We could scoot the back over, and I think we'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine for the moment. I need to look at things anyway.
Perfect.
Wow, that thing looks good in the shop.
Yeah.
It's never been in any sort of shop in the whole time we've owned it. It's just been sad and neglected out in the yard. This is definitely better. Wow. Doesn't make your shop feel small like putting a fire truck in it. Yeah, so the engine needs to go forward a lot. Figure, why not just put the thing on dollies, and then we can roly-poly it around to our heart's content. Man, that'll make you feel nice and strong. You just drag a whole fire truck around. Maybe get another foot. Which actually gets the engine kind of sort of close to where it needs to be. Done. Engine mounted. Let's go.
Video's finished. Please subscribe.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, if it sat right there, this drive shaft would be the right length. With it sitting right there, that could work. But then the bed of the truck would have to be quite a bit higher here. Which, like I said, if we made it a ramp truck, that could work. But then if we put anything tall on it, like, you know, that thing. I guess we could put it on backward. And then if I were to leave it more in this type of position rather than all the way up here, the main level of the bed could be down lower and it could just be a big hump over the engine, but that would be kind of difficult to work around with anything that had less than a lot of ground clearance. So that probably wouldn't make sense. But then the downsides to moving it forward is just it'll be a lot louder inside the cab, and it'll make making this space usable a little more difficult. I don't really know why I left all this wiring on here when I pulled the engine, because it just does not make any sense to try to reuse any of that. It was all for a very different system from 60 years ago. And this engine is extremely simple wiring wise. And then behind the engine, all we're gonna need is taillights. So just new harness is probably gonna be the way to go. So I'm just going to do a little snip here and get some of this out of my way. And now we can put this down so it's not at like face bashing height. So this engine mount here, all I'd have to really do to make it work perfectly is just drill some new holes in either this or this. I'm thinking I'll finish tidying it up in here and then I'll get the engine and set it there and see what it would look like just sitting on that as is. Decide from there, but I was also thinking about just taking this, it's only 4 bolts per side, and just moving it back to the end of this plate and see what that looks like. Either a tachometer or a speedometer cable, but either way it's not gonna work with what we're putting. No, Einstein, no. Uh-oh, we're being attacked by the slobber-toothed tiger. Holy crap. Yeah. Alrighty, remove the engine and most of the other stuff. This is all just wiring and...
Oh, that looks good sitting in there.
Yeah, there's plenty of space for it. You can fit 2 or 3 of those things in this thing. Yeah. Look at this old junction block for all the wiring. Block of non-conductive material that all these wires plug into. I assume they just pull out of there. That's pretty interesting. I guess that's the cab harness versus the chassis harness. So like if you needed to pull the cab off, maybe you could have unplugged all of these. Alright, now that I got all that stuff removed, mainly the radiator, I'm gonna push this thing back So the front's outside again, do another round of pressure washing. Pull it back out with the Humvee.
We still need suspension for this thing.
Alright. It's a little bit cleaner in here. This from that block. The top of the engine is like 27 inches or so. So if that were to sit right on there, oh, nice. It only comes up to there. That shows you how much smaller this engine is than the old one.
No, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
We need one that's just like 5% smaller.
Yeah. And I mean, that is an option to just get something different, but like a radiator this big and an intercooler this big would be rather expensive. And also, like, this one's perfect. It's built for that engine. We just figure out where to mount it, you know? So maybe I will rethink the idea of running it off of electric fans. I mean, the plus side of that is that they're controllable and they don't just make noise all the time. You know, I really didn't anticipate this being a problem. The radiator we pulled out is so enormous. I figured this would be pretty easy to fit in there. It's just wide enough to not fit through the frame rails. Okay, so that would actually fit there. Downside being, depending on where the engine exactly sits, that outlet or inlet, whichever it ends up being, be pointed straight at the oil pan.
Well, did you and Azer come up with a plan?
We did. Asa and I have been thinking through problems together for all about the last 25 years. He was here working on the house today, so he stopped by to give his input here, and we talked about many options for where the radiators could go, radiator and intercooler, and wound up with right here where they were. So the intercooler is going to go sideways like this. I'm going to move this motor mount plate back all the way to the end of this here, so that there's room for this to come up to where it needs to be, and then turn and go around the oil pan, and, you know, up to the intake here. The routing will actually be pretty good. The radiator will go in its original orientation, and it fits just very snugly between these plates. There's still a ton more space in here to add in a bunch of insulation and sound deadening, because this thing was deafeningly loud and very hot with the radiator right there. 9 inches. Yeah, easy. They just don't make them like they used to. Oh wait, they actually, yeah, they do. They make them exactly like this still. Never mind. I always feel like I'm shaking the maracas when I'm using the dead blow.
Shake weight.
Maraca shake weight, yeah. Isn't that what those things are called?
Maracas?
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. It sounded right in my head, and then I started questioning it.
You know who would probably, like, secretly be really good at maracas? Edwin.
Are maracas something you could even be, like, good or bad
If
at,
you could
really?
be really good at it, Edwin would be.
Are there, like, fancy swirls with like, what else can you do with a maraca?
I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna look up the world's best maraca player, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Turns out you can get pretty good at maracas.
Wait, what? All right,
I
well,
didn't realize there was that much variation possible.
neither did I.
This video is titled World's Best Maraca Player.
I see that. Question mark, though, so. No, this one, see how mushroomed it is? That was me trying to hammer that down. I don't know if you remember that.
That one's gonna stay then.
They have a sleeve, a metal sleeve there, and it just is rusted into that sleeve, which is fine. It doesn't cause any problems aside from you can't pull it out. So yeah, I don't think that'll be an issue. I'll leave this one partway down though, that way we can line one and then the other, and I'll pound it back up afterward. But at first, I need to fix that because it's all mushroomed. Steven!
Yeah. What happened?
Just ran out of fuel.
Oh. We probably don't have any, do we?
Yeah, it's super not ideal because this thing sags overnight and it's gonna squash the engine. But the bucket cylinders also sag. Lower on fuel than anticipated. We don't even have anything that's diesel to steal fuel from. We already stole every drop from the old Humvee. No, wait, we do. Oh, look at that. Nice.
Premium.
Nice. Wow, I did not expect that hose to reach down into the...
I also just kind of assumed this wouldn't have anything in it.
Well, we run out of gasoline all the time, so like...
That's true. We don't rob diesel nearly as frequently.
No. We have a few times. Specifically for this exact situation where the skid steer runs out of fuel. Bucket's already settled enough for it to be sitting on that block.
Oh,
Remember how it was like an inch or two above it?
It settled quick.
Yeah. I mean, the skid steer's got 3,500 hours on it, you know. It's not surprising that it would sag a little bit over time. Due to not enough time up at the property last time, and also me being tired of crawling around under a bus, getting bitten by mosquitoes, I did not grab the other half of these transmission mounts from the bus, as well as we're gonna steal the fuel tank and some wiring and various other things that I didn't have time to pull out of it. So I'm gonna load up some camera gear, some tools, and drive up to the property. I'll pick up Edwin along the way. We'll go retrieve some more parts and then get back here and plop this engine into place. We made it up here, and the mosquitoes seem at least to have not found us yet. But also, when my wife and I came up here last weekend, we got this.
Oh.
The Bug Zapper 9000. It's so satisfying because when you get one, it just goes pss, nice little zap. And you're waving around like madman, and you get to zap a mosquito every once in a while.
Yeah.
Haha! Got one.
Nice.
We made some upgrades inside the bus too.
That's what I'm excited to see.
Yeah, it's much nicer. Mainly, we took off a bunch of the window covers. You know, Kurt had those on the windows because he had to deal with minus 30 Montana winters. For one, we're not planning on being up here in the winter very often. I mean, we do plan on it, but not that much. And two, it never gets that cold here. Also, we taped up some screen onto the windows so you can have the windows open and not be eaten by mosquitoes. Also, I wired up this
Nice.
radiator fan. But the main thing is, we tore down the cabinet that was here, or the closet, and turned it into a bed. A full queen-size bed platform back here.
Yeah.
We also set in some mouse traps just in case, but apparently there haven't been any in here. Next time we come up, we'll bring up a real mattress. We had an air mattress, and it was the really tall ones, so I didn't really account for that, and it was, yeah. But I made the bed high enough so that we can store stuff in these mouse-proof bins.
And not only that, I will say that it's super doubly confirmed that Ethan found his person, because this is what his wife wanted to do for their anniversary.
Yeah, indeed. I wasn't, you were joking about this yesterday. You're like, oh, I can't believe you talked her into that for your anniversary. I was like, no, she was just as stoked about this as I was. Yeah, you know, she loves the bus. I'm thinking I'm I'm just gonna pull this whole gauge cluster out of here, because these gauges I can use because they're set up for the engine and trans that we have now. So they'll be accurate to that. Whereas the gauges in the bus are all very old and analog. Actually, that looks remarkably similar. As long as these frame rails aren't wider than the Firetruck frame rails, it'll be really easy because then we can just space things apart. We want to steal these. This is what we mainly came for, is these trans mounts, because they're just super simple and super beefy. And the rubber in them is quite in good shape. More importantly, they're also very replaceable, because all of this stuff came in not just the school bus, but all of the Ford F800 and F700 medium duty trucks for like 20 years. Like for example, our radiator, I looked it up last night to see if we ever need to replace it. It's like $300 to $500 for a brand new one. So. There's one. Oh, this isn't as heavy as I thought it would be. She sure lost a lot of oil during her 80,000 miles. Yep. Yeah, there's so much grease, I need to wipe it away before I can even fit the right size socket on it. Got them both, and I even ground scored some bonus washers that were down here. And there we go, 2 nice aluminum mounts with some bushings that have some life left in them, and all the hardware to go with it. Let's see how Ethan's coming along. I think I got the whole harness stripped out on the inside here. I just need to get the grommet loose from the other side. And I haven't found any computers, which is a good sign. Also, I had to take the ignition switch off of this thing to get the wiring out, obviously. That is the weirdest ignition switch I have ever seen.
Hey, you did get a haircut for your anniversary, looks like.
I did. I got a haircut on Sunday after we came down from here. It was actually hilarious because I went in there with like sap and pine needles in my hair, and I was like, I'm sorry, but this is the only time I've had in the last 8 months to get a haircut. It's not strictly speaking that I don't have the time, it's just that I'm never in town when they're open and have the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were like, oh yeah, it looks like your last haircut was October. I was under here looking at how to remove the fuel tank, which it has like effectively a roll cage, the fuel tank does, for safety. Yeah, it's like a crash cage, so if you hit this thing from the side, it won't puncture the fuel tank. You know, it doesn't catch on fire if it gets a side impact. But it means that it's way more complicated to get the fuel tank out of there. Oh, people are always calling me when I'm in the most inconvenient situation, so it's Chris. Yellow, what's up?
He is managing the construction of his house while he's up here today. And the delivery of my new 100-mile challenge machine.
Oh, Edwin, your Changli is damaged.
No! What's wrong with it?
Well, several different spots, but...
Dang.
I mean, it can't be as bad as what Edwin's about to put that thing through.
Damage.
That's so funny. Your Changli came damaged.
I was literally just telling the camera how excited I was for my 100-mile challenge machine.
So funny.
Damage.
Emotional damage.
I wanted to do that damage myself. That's the whole point of the 100-mile challenge.
See that?
Yeah. Holy smokes.
Yeah, and in theory, the tank could drop straight out the bottom, but these brackets are L-shaped and they bolt in at the very top of the frame, which you can't access with the fuel tank in place. We'll see how bad the fuel tank is in the Firetruck, and or just get a different fuel tank might be better. This is the ignition switch I was talking about. It just had a little, basically a wire with a little hook on the end that just pushed and pulled on that. So like getting to that to access it would be difficult, but the little wire thing there is not that big. You could just snip it and then... We also need a section of drive line, whatever is convenient to remove of that, and then possibly steal the fuel tank. So I brought a transfer pump. We can just pump it into a gas can and pour it straight to the excavator over there.
Yeah, the excavator, it's never been full, right?
No. Every time, when I was running it a lot, every time I came up here, I'd bring like 17 gallons and put it in there. And at one point, I think I had it up to like 3/4 of a tank. But like, I could burn that same amount of fuel if I was up here for a full like 8+ hour day of operating it, which I did on a few weekends. So I'd like be net zero gain on the fuel sometimes. Well, we've got at least 5-ish gallons. It's kind of a shame now that my roads mostly are like pretty much all the way built. I don't have as much excuse to come run this thing. I mean, I will once I start building something up here, but still, nothing like building roads with an excavator. I got 15 gallons of diesel out of there.
Gee! I'm just gonna reduce the local mosquito count.
Oh yeah, dude, that thing is so satisfying.
The second I whip this out, they all
They
seem to
disappear, dude. They're smart. They're learning.
Ooh, it does give you a nice, satisfying sound.
Oh yeah, especially when it's dark out, you can see a little flash of light when the mosquito explodes in electricity. I think we got most of the things I was thinking of getting, except for the fuel tank. Since we're moments ahead of schedule, I gotta show you the potential gnarly hill climb I found.
So in the last video, before we brought the bus up here, we were building a trail to access the property from the lower part of the property. We're at basically the top and it goes down the mountain. And so the idea is to have another point to access it that's like a really fun off-road trail.
Exactly. You remember how we hiked up the trail a little past where we finished clearing to?
Yeah.
There was most definitely a bear or a mountain lion or something living in that cave over the winter.
Wow.
Not currently, but like also like the trail that we cleared all around that was all packed down. Like at first I thought somebody had like been driving around on a four-wheeler or something, but it was only right in front of where that cave was. So it was just the bear or whatever just chilling out in front of that cave.
We should put a trail cam there.
There's
That
two.
would be sick.
There's two caves actually. There's another one I'll show you right on the side here.
Whoa. This is a good bear spot, man.
It's probably what it was. Probably a bear hibernated here or something. You could fit like 4 people in here easily. Oh gosh, this is where the mosquitoes. Yeah. This place is very spacious.
Yeah, it's very obvious that an animal dug this out very recently. Now this is where things start to get really, really exciting.
Oh yeah.
The rock garden. Just rocks for
Perfect.
crawling.
Perfect rock crawling rocks. Like just enough of them to make it difficult, but not impossible.
Yeah.
And also like on a dirt bike, you could easily pick your way through them so you're not just like getting hammered
Yeah.
by the rocks. Back at the shop, Edwin had a dentist appointment, so he's not here. Steven's moving into a new place, so he's not here. Got my transmission mounts here, and they are very crusty. So I'm gonna throw those in the degreaser and let them soak for a bit while I unload the rest of the stuff from the truck. And then I'll grab the skid steer and finagle that engine around and see if I can get it in place. We thought we bought these mini excavator skid steers for like a crazy adventure, but it turns out we bought them for my wife to drive around and use in the garden and for excavating under my house, actually. Got the skid steer back over here. Still have the soft shackles on from yesterday. Gonna see if I can hook this up such that it's where it is relative to the bucket. Slide it sideways and get these holes to line up with those bolts. And finagle it down in there, which will be a little bit more difficult by myself. There she goes again. I have this all rigged up with 3 ratchet straps that should help keep it more in the orientation I want it to be. So let's see what happens, I guess. My hand pretty good with the pry bar, but it is started on one of the bolt holes, so that's a good step in the right direction. I'd say that went smoother than I expected, honestly. That was pretty easy. Bolts are lined up, they're actually settled all the way onto the engine mount, so that's pretty cool. I'm gonna ponder for a while now and decide whether the engine needs to go down or forward or whatever direction from where it is. I have examined, I have pondered, and here's my engine mounts, all cleaned up, shiny. Oh wait, these aren't engine mounts. Transmission mounts. They're supposed to go right there. And the frame rail width is actually perfect, which is amazing. But, as you can see, that transmission is a couple inches too high. I could just lower the back end down, but it's only like 1 degree off right now, that output shaft angle to pinion angle. And given that this will hopefully be a highway vehicle, we want to minimize the vibrations and stuff in the drivetrain. So keeping the transmission output parallel to the pinion angle is important. I've done some pondering, some rearranging, some more pondering, slept, woke up. Well, where it is now is a little bit farther forward and a lot farther down than it was. I've decided to hold off on the front mount for a minute and just work on these transmission mounts because those are very easy to locate and get centered. Since these transmission mounts are mirror images of each other for left and right, what I can do is take the opposite side one. On the outside, I can use it as its own hole pattern. We got transmission mounts now. They're all bolted up, both sides. Transmission's sitting on them. Now, I think I'm just gonna make a new engine mount because that one over there that we had in there, despite all my re-drilling of holes and rearranging and whatnot, in the end I ended up needing the engine a lot, or wanting the engine a lot lower than I originally thought with that. And lower than that is really capable of being placed. Just lop those off, and then I'll build a new one, a new cross member that angles down, so it can go farther down and then up the other side. Time to go to the scrap pile and find some metal to use for this, to make this piece. Oh yes. Beef. 10 points for whoever can remember exactly what this piece of steel came from.
It looks so familiar. It's taken me a second.
Somebody watching will have already known. From the 6x6 Ranger.
That's what it's from. Oh man.
Yeah, these were the back ends where the bed was stuck out like 3 feet out the back of it.
I knew it looked familiar.
This edge of the table represents the top of frame rail for the Firetruck. This represents about how far down it bolts. Obviously that's changeable, but you know, it's just a rough estimate there, a rough number. This represents how far down the mount needs to be, including accounting for the thickness of this super duper overkill engine mount plate and rubber bit. Practice my freehand plasma cutting.
Been a while since you've done this.
Indeed. I cannot see anything. Oh, the irony of doing freehand plasma cutting on a CNC plasma cutting machine. Nice. That'll work. I now need to cut 4 circles in this. The little ones I can drill, and I might, probably not, but the big ones, I don't have a drill bit that big. I could do a hole saw, but that's slow. On the arc droid, it's actually super easy to center it on a circle because you just have a single point and I don't have to design anything, so I can just go into the trace function, get it located on the circle. What kind of Grindhard episode would it be without a little plasma robot action? And they'll weld it up. I've got this piece still assembled, so I can just use it as part of the jig to make sure the width is correct.
I should drive a Changli all the way across China.
You would die.
Could you imagine the Great Wall? That would really be something.
Grand finale be running into the Great Wall.
Yeah.
I thought about just cutting out new plates, but I don't have very much thick material like this, so I figured might as well repurpose the old ones. Assembling my engine mount here. Whoa, that's kind of heavy. Lined up while also holding its weight. It's looking good. I'm gonna have to drill new holes for the plates, like I said, because of my poor planning here. It's gonna be a lot easier to weld this if I lop a little bit off the end of it, because it's kind of hard to get down into that corner. And also just it's excess and it's kind of square and ugly, so I'll kind of trim it up a little bit here with the plasma. And did 2 passes pretty much all the way around, just for good measure. You never know how many horsepowers that Cummins might be making in the future. Yeah, another nice thing about having to cut out the bottom of this for the engine plate is that it's still tubular and very strong, but it won't collect crustaceans, so to speak. Way easier to install when it's all one piece. Honestly, the more I look at it, the more it's surprising that this thing didn't completely annihilate a belt on the way home. I mean, it definitely tried. But look at this. Watch the alternator pulley when I spin it. Oh, it's pretty considerably wobbly. And this pulley, as before mentioned, was very wobbly. And this pulley bracket, the 2 bolts almost fell out while we were driving it home. Well, I'd say that's a great success for this week. Nearly 6 years. We're finally doing something with the Firetruck. And it's got a Cummins in it. All bolted down and attached. Look at that. No wiggle. Stay tuned, because next week will either be getting this thing running or working on the trike and maybe getting it running. Or maybe doing some crazy other shenanigans. Either way, stay tuned. It's gonna be good.